Booyaka shot.
And we are live. Oh, all right. Now I can actually. That's so weird. All right, whatever. Anything notable going on in your guys' worlds?
Nah, just a quiet Boston evening. Fall time.
Word.
How about you?
Just vibing here with you guys.
There was like an air show here today that was pretty cool. There's
Ooh,
like these like fighter jets flying all over the place.
That was pretty sweet.
sounds like fun. I was not expecting Justin Fields to do that well last night. That was
I hit
insane.
a nice parlay off of that.
That's lit. What's up, Carson? What's up, Meeber? Should you trade Jefferson and Pollard for CMC, Bijan, and Ayuk? Says user.
Jefferson and Pollard for CMC, Bijan, and Ayuk. That's pretty close. I guess I would lean Jefferson Pollard, but I'm a big Bijan fan for the rest of the season, so it's really
And
close.
after you've seen what's happened with like CMC as well, you're kind of just like, damn.
What happened?
He dropped basically a 50 burger.
Oh! I thought you meant like something bad.
No, nothing bad. Just like, I can't believe that freaking DJ Moore had a 50 burger last night, though. That's insane.
Yeah, that
to
was
me.
gnarly.
Love it. I was gonna have to trade Eckler in that league to probably win this week, just to guarantee a win. But then that happens, and I don't need to do anything.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
now you
it's
can
so
just
nice.
chill.
Yeah, I swear I have DJ Moore in like 4 different leagues. I'm chilling this week, like completely.
It's just insane. I didn't think that the defense on Washington was going to be that bad.
Amon-Ra for Waddle and Pierce. I would take Amon-Ra if you have a running back that you can fill in for Pierce.
Yeah.
Collins or Waddle for the flex. I'm going to lean towards Waddle in a game that Miami should be dominating.
Yeah. Yeah, Nico, I think Nico's going to get locked down in the next game, honestly.
I agree.
London and White for Gibbs.
He's going to have AJ Terrell on him.
Yeah, who just absolutely locked up Calvin Ridley.
He has
Oh,
Kamara, Brees, and Kyron. Yeah, I would trade for Amon-Ra then.
Brees versus Broncos or Kyron versus
Rice
Eagles.
or Wilson or McLaughlin. I would lean Prime McLaughlin.
I'd go with Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
I'd go with Brees versus the Broncos. I don't like Kyron versus the Eagles as much.
I do like McLaughlin
Yeah.
this week.
But we've got a good majority of people in here now, sitting around 30 or so we'll start diving into these. Now, for those of you who want to know how to get your team rated, you join the Discord. The link to that is in the bio. And you DM our friend Jackson here at Jamario Moon, and he'll tell you exactly how to get your team on this specific live stream. I think we have about 11 right now.
Yeah, we got lots of room left in this one, so hit me in the DMs, please.
Moving forward to our first team here, we have Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, Jake Ferguson, Nico Collins. Looking at the bench, I actually like DeAndre Hopkins this week. I'd probably start him over Nico Collins, personally. Trying to see. But that's really the only thing I would change about this lineup. I don't even mind putting in Jahmyr Gibbs in this matchup against Carolina, with potentially Amon St. Brown not even in the game. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like D-Hop this week. Over Nico, you think? I would agree with that. I mean, we just talked about Nico potentially having a down week, so that's probably the spot to go. And you can't really be too comfortable starting Gibbs right now, so.
Yeah. So, Ethan, you joined the Discord. The link to that is in the bio. And then you DM our guy Jackson here at Jamario Moon, and he'll tell you exactly how to get your team on this stream. But overall, like, this is a solid team. I would say that, like, the running back room is the weaker point here. Because, like, Alvin Kamara is great in the sense of a PPR format, but there's just no way that he's going to get another 14-target game. I will be very, very surprised. Now, if he got more than 33 33 yards in this past game, I'd be a lot more interested in him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, like it could be a good week for Gibbs to pop off. Like I'm looking at the flex right now, and it's like I would honestly consider throwing in Gibbs over Collins just matchup wise.
Sure.
I
Yeah, the
guess
Collins
Hopkins
one's
more
weird
though.
though, because you're gonna feel if you start Gibbs and you don't start Collins, and Gibbs just goes back to what he's been doing. It's a tough pill to swallow, just because you're gonna feel like an idiot, even though it probably is the right move.
Let's see here.
It's a tough one.
Got to do something for Nico real quick here. So I think that's about it for this.
I'm
game.
I'm on it right now.
You're on it. All right, perfect.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Let's see here. I think that's fine overall for your team. It's just like the running back, I think, could be more sustainable down the line because you don't really have a lot of depth with Gibbs here at this point. But who knows? Maybe it gets better. Moving forward, we have CJ Stroud, Ken Williams, Devin Achon, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. So you're taking a big risk each week on which receiver you want. Jake Ferguson, Calvin Ridley. You got Watson sitting on the bench, Tank Dell sitting on the bench, and an empty bench spot with Austin Eckler on IR. Always fill that extra bench spot with the defense if you can, because it's just good to kind of like lap up defenses over time. I just don't really like having two receivers from the same team, even though it really doesn't matter. It's just a weird thing for me. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on this team?
The two receivers from the same team is definitely a tough one, but I mean those guys are both so good. I'm in a position this week where I'd had the DJ Moore blow up, so now I just need some guaranteed points, and I'm debating starting Pirine and McLaughlin if Javante's out. They're both projected like 10 points, so it's kind of just a weird one. But in this scenario, most weeks one of them is going to have a huge week, and the other one's going to be a little subpar or maybe average. So you kind of cover up for whatever one is underperforming with the other one. So when they're both elite guys like that, I don't think it's necessarily the worst call.
Yeah. And Jackson, how do they get their team on this stream?
You just got to DM me on our Discord, which the link for is in our bio, and my username on Discord is at Jamario Moon, like the NBA player or the ex-NBA player. So just send me a DM and I'll get you on the list for the stream.
Yeah. Let's see here. Are you guys still taking submissions? Yes, we are, Sebas. Yes, we are. But just kind of looking at the running back room, this doesn't seem like it's going to be solid, but I'm also kind of curious, like, how is it really going to fare over the season? I guess that's my big question. Like, is Achon really going to be that efficient? He could be, but like,
yeah. And I don't really mind honestly having AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, but it's kind of the perfect situation for this person specifically to trade out of one of those two, and kind of get someone more consistent in the running back position.
Yeah.
It also kind of lowers your potential. Like your floor is higher because you have both of them, but your ceiling is never going to be as high as if you had like CeeDee Lamb or something with Devontae Smith, just because they're never both going to have a massive week.
Yeah. I like getting a new kicker in defense based on the matchup more often than not.
I don't mind selling high on AJ Brown too, in terms of the of both of them. Whichever one has a massive week, like AJ Brown last week, is you're going to be selling basically at his peak. So
maybe try to go get Tony Pollard and like switch
for
a receiver as well. Just do a 2-for-2 swap. Just mix things up. I like Calvin Ridley this week more than most, though. I think it would be a good spot.
Yeah, it's a good matchup for him.
Let's see here. We got Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Darren Waller, James Cook, and sitting on the bench. So this is a 3-quarterback team. That is interesting. Zay Flowers, Rashawn Johnson, and DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think I'd make any changes to this lineup personally.
This doesn't seem like a very deep league to me.
Yeah. Or they just did a lot of really good trades, but like 3 quarterbacks is a lot.
And
I would probably drop Deshaun maybe.
Yeah.
Of the 3, he's the one that I think goes potentially.
It's interesting to see that Jordan Love's projected that much higher than Trevor Lawrence. Is the
Probably
Raiders
just a
secondary
matchup.
that bad?
It looked good against the Chargers, but the rest of the year it hasn't been great. So I mean, it's definitely not a good secondary, but I don't know if it's like horrendous. I don't think Jordan Love's going to look like Patrick Mahomes or anything against them, but
I guess the big thing that
definitely
I'm
a positive matchup.
trying to figure out is like, is this Buffalo Bills defense a little bit inflated without Tre'Davious White for like the Calvin Ridley matchup? Because I know a lot of
Yeah.
people are like staying away from that. But to me, I look at that, I'm like, if you're missing a key corner or something like that, that means you have to have somebody else kind of coming in from behind.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw like, what was it, 79% of the snaps they were trailing Calvin Ridley on there. I just think also like staying in for like London for a whole week makes a lot of sense for them to be in a bounce back spot.
Yeah. I like the way you think about that for sure.
All right. And for those of you guys asking exactly how to get added into here, you got to join the Discord. The link to that is in the TikTok bio here. And then you DM our guy Jackson here at Jamaro Moon. We are still taking submissions.
Also, if any of you want just quick feedback, the fantasy football channel in there, just throw your team in, throw some questions for trades and stuff. We're not going to see everything that you type into the live chat here, so feel free to type it in there, and there will be people like us or more qualified than us that will be answering all of your questions as soon as possible. So another option for you guys.
But overall, it's a solid team. I mean, I'm curious to see how this goes because it's saying that like the run defense for Green Bay sucks as well. I don't know. Interesting. Are you guys starting or sitting Darren Waller? Actually, I think that's a good question about this team at this point without Andrew Thomas in it. Before we live off this, like it's a good spot in theory for him, but like, is there anyone else that you would be willing to like start over Waller?
It depends who's on his waivers. If it's just
I mean,
like
Fergie maybe.
Yeah, yeah. If Fergie's there, then I would potentially start him. But other than that, I'm not starting like Njoku or some of those dudes over Waller.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm just like thinking it's like they have to return to the statistical median in theory, but like they're just getting absolutely decimated in the backfield. So
Yeah.
we'll see how Jackson's Miami Dolphins defense does. But moving forward, we got Tua, Debo, Christian Kirk, Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams, Mark Anderson, Derrick Henry. That seems like a very solid front half there. He got kind of screwed with injuries because this guy also had Mike Evans and T. Higgins. Like this is just a really strong team. You could really
Is Mike Evans for sure out this week?
I imagine he's on a bye, I think.
Oh. I just saw the questionable there. T. Higgins, I would say he's still questionable on most sites, but it's not looking positive for him.
Yeah. I mean, he's also got Cooper Kupp sitting on IR here. Like,
yeah, activate him.
I'm not too worried. If anything, I would just trade for another sustainable flex with this team. Like, let's say Kyron Williams becomes relevant, you can just pop Derrick Henry back in there. Kyron Williams stays relevant, you keep him in there. Like,
or if Kirk has a big week this week, you ship him off.
Yeah. Like you have Cooper Kupp coming back, you'll have T. Higgins coming back at some point.
You have Mike Evans.
Like this is a very strong team.
I don't know if I like Buffalo as a start this week. The defense.
Where do they have a defense here?
Bottom left.
Bottom, I missed that. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of it. It seems like a good spot for the Jags. And it's supposed to be a high-scoring game.
The extra time adjusting to the time zone and everything. The Bills flew in, I guess,
on Thursday
night.
So that means they probably got there like today.
They had some obviously every coach that flies there has some genius idea on how to stop jet lag, but it never seems to work. Like they were flying through the night, but earlier they basically tried to line up their current sleep schedule with the London. I don't know. They had a very interesting plan of how to attack the jet lag, but I feel like that never really pans out as well as just being there for an extra week will. So I honestly like the Jags in the game as a whole.
No, I agree. I just feel like everyone's going to be absolutely hating on it. It's just the Bills are without their starting corner. Then on top of that, you point out the fact that they left yesterday essentially, so they're gonna be jet
Yeah.
lagged. It's not like they've been there for this whole entire like past week like the Jags have. I don't know. It's like it's a weird angle to think of, but it does make a lot of sense.
Hmm.
But moving forward here,
So the Bills and Jags have buys next week, I assume.
I'd imagine I'd want
Yeah.
time off after that. Let's hear Josh Dobbs, who's been an absolute smash in fantasy, like very surprisingly so. Jalen Waddle, George Pickens, Bijan Robinson, Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson just got unlucky in that game, I felt like. George Kittle, Alexander Madison, and Josh Downs. Um, are you plugging Josh Reynolds into your lineups if Amon or St. Brown doesn't play?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see here.
What about you, Wells?
Just came in and you switched from my. Sorry about the tray. I don't mind doing it. I'm just trying to see what else on this team's particularly like interesting.
If I think if Amon-Ra doesn't play, you start Reynolds, and then if Javonte doesn't play, I think you probably start P Ryan over Downs.
Yeah. And just to go back for half a second, because Trey said the last team was his. This is a very, very good team. Only thing you can technically do is like just put like a better flex in theory. Like anything you have is technically tradable, but like your team's stacked beyond belief.
Yeah, I like Henry this week a lot, though. I think he just dominates the AFC South.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But going back to this, George Kittle's just going to be very hit or miss, which is annoying. George Pickens, I'm not a big fan of. But then again, you have DK Metcalf who replaces that more often than not. Would you say that there's kind of an inconsistency as like at the starting receiver position? Obviously, you bought into Jalen Waddle expecting a leap forward into year 3, and I wouldn't say that hasn't happened, but like from a fantasy perspective, at least it hasn't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, no,
think
it's
this
definitely
is
a
a-
little inconsistent.
I think that there is a game that is like this week specifically where he's going to have like a great game, but
Yeah. I mean, I assume that was his second round pick just based on the rest of the roster, and he definitely has not lived up to that hype. But I mean, when him and Tyreek have played together, it's kind of a streaky thing where one of them will have a huge week and then the other one will have a huge week and stuff. We just haven't seen that Waddle pop off game yet, but I'm sure it's coming. Like I wouldn't be too stressed about it.
yeah, I'm just not a big fan of the wide receiver room outside of DK in this. Like, more often than not, it's fine. Your running back spots fill up your like flexes, but I feel like you could have a better third receiver that you could consider putting into this flex spot if you need it. Because I'm not entirely sure if Alexander Madison's role is fully sustainable. Um,
Yeah, I would agree.
but yeah, I don't know. Maybe still high on Josh Reynolds after this week, and if he has a great game, there's not really too much else you can do here because nobody's really going to be buying Josh Dobbs. But moving on to the next here. Josh Allen, Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, Adam Thielen, Sam Laporta, Booper Bup, Terry McLaurin. Yeah, I'd put Terry. I'd be trying to sell out of Adam Thielen.
For
Like
sure.
he's consistent to a degree here, but like find someone you can upgrade off of Joe Mixon because I do think that Damian Pierce is going to be a big thing in the later portion of this year because the offensive line is starting to get healthy, which makes me think there's going to be more explosive plays for somebody like Damian Pierce.
Yeah. I would start Cup over Thielen this week, absolutely too.
Yeah. Trying to see who else. Like you fixed your hole at tight end with Sam Laporta over Dallas Goedert. Deontay Johnson's going to be coming back. Would you sell Josh Allen to try to improve to like a superstar running back?
That's what I was considering doing in one of my leagues. It seems like this guy has a decent amount of depth, but yeah, that might be the way you have to improve. I have Hurts in a league, and it's a 14-person league, and there's just not a lot of depth on waivers or my bench or anything like that. So I've been debating selling him because I have Stroud. So in this case, with Kirk, who's solid enough, it might be worth selling the premium there to a guy with like Daniel Jones or someone like that.
Yeah.
Could also maybe trade out of like Laporta if someone's really lacking a tight end.
And
'Cause
we're
they
going to
got
continue to hit
Goddard
this
on the
point
bench.
home because if we just stuck with the math yesterday, I would have had Justin Fields as a must start candidate. So I feel like an idiot for this. But it's those quarterbacks who have over 130 rushing attempts in a year average 22 fantasy points per game. And when they throw for 3,000 yards or less, it's 19 fantasy points per game. So they were due for positive regression, which basically means that Daniel Jones should actually be in for some massive weeks here, which could be kind of dope. But we'll see. He might be a buy the dip candidate once you have Andrew Thomas back in the roster.
It's all up to Evan Neal.
All up to Evan Neal, the preacher. Let's see here. I'm not really worried about Dameon Pierce. I think he's going to be fine once the offensive line is more healthy. But overall, this is a very solid team. Like, the receivers really make this team strong here. And then it's just like you just take a step up with either Joe Mixon or Dameon Pierce. I just have more upside for Dameon Pierce's future based off of their situation. But moving forward, we have Daniel Dimes, nice Wells. Danny Dimes, speaking of the devil. James Conner, Aaron Jones, Deebo Samuel, CeeDee Lamb, Tank Dell, Jake Ferguson, and Alexander Madison. We got Deshaun. Yep. Cup vibing on the reserves. Same with Jeff Wilson and Kyler. That's a lot of reserve spots. Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, Quentin Johnson, Roshan Johnson, Deshaun Watson, with the Commanders sitting on defense.
Tough start to the week there.
That sucks, yeah. Receivers are pretty sick. In theory, you could like improve Dell another step further.
I mean, they could get Cup in there this week.
But yeah, Cup's going to be there. I just try to improve to like a higher tiered flex slash running back, just because like I think James Conner's work is getting bit into. Aaron Jones, I think, is going to be good. But Alexander Madison, I do have a little bit concerns with. I don't know what else.
I mean, it probably depends on how deep this league is in terms of like where you're really standing. But if it's a deeper league, having your flex between Dell and Madison isn't the worst. But I mean, you could obviously improve a little bit. But I think you're in a decent spot there, especially with Roshan potential in the future.
Yeah, but I do think that's a little bit too like shaky of a flex situation to be in. I feel like Cam Akers kind of got like a concerningly high run share in his first game with Minnesota, which is something to look out for. And I mean, Tank Dell is definitely not the clear wide receiver 1 or even 2 there yet. So,
yeah. I don't know. It's going to be great because of the receivers, but that's like the real holes that I see. But we're going to go ahead and move on because it's not like you can say to sell like Daniel Jones or Deshaun Watson. No one's really buying either of them right now. Yeah, it is what it is. Let's see here. Tua, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Evan Ingram, and Brian Robinson. Unfortunately, Brian Robinson failed a lot of managers last night.
I thought he was in such a good spot to have a huge game.
He was. I feel like
he was. Let's see here. Javonte and Julio cover each other. DK Metcalf. So he normally goes in where Garrett Wilson is. I don't mind packaging any of these receivers together to get something even better, but I do believe that like Jerry Jeudy's going to get ultimately better. Who do you drop for Cup if we go back to the last team? Damn Dirty Grape is asking. Because apparently he has to drop someone. I would drop Quentin Johnston. I just don't think he's really worthwhile. Like Jaden Reed technically is the better person to drop. But one of those two. We'll let you flip a coin between the two. But going back to this team here. I don't know. I think Jerry Jeudy's going to be a thing. I think this team has like a lot of promising like future type stuff. But like, what do you think about his running back situation having both Brian Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs? Like, which one do you? I guess you feel more confident starting each week.
Probably Robinson for now.
Robinson and Gibbs.
Yeah, between those two.
Oh, easily Robinson. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody has down weeks, and it's like everything from Robinson before this week is like promising up to now. I'm not really concerned about him.
We were not expecting a 230-yard, 3-touchdown game from DJ Moore. That was just insane.
I would. I mean, I guess now you put Brian Robinson in the flex. One thing I usually like doing is if there's a guy playing earlier in the week, lock him up in one of the running back slots and leave the flex open because you have more flexibility in the future.
Agreed.
Like now, if you had Brian Robinson at the running back and you had Gibbs there,
You
Gibbs
can
just
flip
went
that
questionable
around.
today with whatever injury in practice, then you could conceivably switch to McLaughlin or something if something bad were to happen. But
For sure.
now that you're locked in, I mean, maybe you start a McLaughlin or a someone
Jacoby
over.
Myers could have been nice this week.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I agree with that point heavily because like that's something you do have to consider a lot when you're setting up your lineup because now you're locked in and you can't really flex your way out of it, pun intended. But overall, it's a solid team. I just want something more consistent at the RB2 spot. Like, you're going to have DK Metcalf, and one of these receivers realistically will truly turn into something. It all depends on who. But overall, very solid team.
Yeah, it's a deep bench. You got to get rid of or make some room with those receivers sitting on your bench.
Let's see here. We got Lamar Jackson, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Devon Achon, Brian Robinson. So weakest spot here is running backs, but you do have Brees Hall sitting on your bench. And that's really it on the running back side. You got Nick Chubb. Oh, well, damn, that's painful.
Yeah, it's tough. And Mike Williams, jeez.
But overall, it is a very solid team. Nico Collins really is a fine kind of step in for how consistent he's been. I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. I don't mind trading away Ayuk on a high note, so to speak, and trying to get something that like is gonna be really consistent. Like you probably can't get Olave, but you never know.
I like Brees a lot going forward.
That as well.
I don't know if you start him over IU. Maybe you start him over Nico Collins this week. I would probably do that.
Yeah, I would.
Switch Ayuk with Collins and then start Brees.
Just because it's such a
in
good
theory,
matchup for him.
this is as good a spot as Brees Hall is going to have, like so far this season, and probably even going forward. So
It would have to be a really weird weekend of football. I'm curious to see how Zach Moss kind of fares this week. Cam Akers is in for a larger role in theory. I don't know. There's just not really too much to do. I don't want to be selling out on Amari Cooper just because I think he's going to get even better as time progresses. I'm just not in on George Pickens or Rico Dowdle. I don't know.
yeah, no, I agree.
If you have
And
one
you don't
spot
even
you have to
have
fix, which one would it be?
If you had Paul or Dowdle, I guess is worth carrying. But other than that, yeah.
So y'all are throwing in Brees or Ayuk for Nico Collins and
Putting in
Hall for
Brees yeah.
Nico.
I
yeah.
think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because it's a better matchup for him. And who knows, maybe Nico just goes absolutely nuclear once again. But AJ Terrell did just lock down Calvin Ridley. So I think there's a chance we could see something similar there. But you never know. Moving on. We have another Tua team. DeAndre Swift, Raheem Mostert, Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk, Travis Kelce, Josh Jacobs sitting at the flex, Kirk O'Two-Chains, Devon Achon sitting on the bench.
This team's nasty.
Hopefully they didn't have DJ Moore on their bench. Otherwise, that's painful. This is just a very, very good team. I would sell high on Christian Kirk and Tutu Atwell still. I don't mind selling high on Raheem Mostert either because I do think Devon Achon's going to be a thing. But what are you guys' thoughts?
I think you're exactly right. I mean, the running back room, disregarding Jonathan Taylor needs to improve. Well, I guess Josh Jacobs being in the flex fucks me up.
And Jonathan Taylor's sitting on the bench too, so it's like, damn, this is really isn't a bad spot.
Yeah, no, it's a great team, but you're right about selling high on Christian Kirk. His value's inflated right now. Yeah, Tutu as well.
I just hope that they had DJ Moore in their lineup.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Christian Kirk goes out there and drops him like 5 points.
He might have. I mean, this is a screenshot from last week.
And they got Keenan Allen in there as a bye.
Yeah, so there's a chance that he started DJ Moore. If you're in here, let us know in the comments because I'm praying you did. But
yeah, I feel bad for those who didn't. But overall, this actually is just a really, really strong team. It's just like weird order for some things. Basically, like build a higher tier wide receiver too outside of DJ Moore, who we really don't know how that consistent is really going to be. But currently ranked the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy.
he started Moore.
He started Moore. Nice job.
Very nice.
That's awesome.
So assuming you started Moore and the rest of your lineup of Jacobs, Kelsey, Mostert, Swift, I think you're posed for a guarantee. I mean, I assume you're starting Achane probably this week over Mostert, but this looks like another W.
Yeah.
Big dub.
And you guys DM Jackson at Jamario Moon to get your team submitted.
On the Discord, link is in the bio.
How many teams are we up to?
We're at
We
11.
No, that's not true. Oh, sorry. We're at
Just added
20
a bunch.
teams total.
Okay.
So let's see here. We got Tua, Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, and Brandon Ayuk with Amon St. Brown. Looking at, he's doubtful. What is going on? Let's see here. Deebo Samuel, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporte. I mean, this is just an insane team because, like,
Yeah, he was declared doubtful.
yeah, like this is just
Seems ridiculous.
yeah. What this is crap.
Like they got I mean, there's no holes. Your worst player on your team is Jahmyr Gibbs. So
Yeah, like what? I'm gonna go pick up Josh Reynolds in a league, real quick.
Yeah, this is a
yeah.
crazy team.
yeah, this is just dumb. 1-man league.
Yeah, no, this team's just absolutely cracked. There really isn't anything to say about this team. Like, this has to be a 4-man league. Moving forward, Jalen Hurts, Alvin Kamara, Khalil Herbert, Cooper Kupp, Nico Collins, Tyler Higbee, Chris Olave. You got Michael Pittman sitting on the bench. Nah.
The running back room is hurt.
Justin Fields, unfortunately, was sitting on your bench, but it's really always smart to go with Jalen Hurts, at least for right now. Not really too much to say. It's just the running back, as like Jackson pointed out, is like a little bit weak here. Let's see, is Josh Reynolds
I'm
available?
trying to see what you could do. I mean, could definitely get out of sell high on Nico Collins if you want to do. I feel like that's a good route for this team. Same with Alvin. But yeah, I mean, get out of Alvin Kamara would be good. Even though that's your best running back.
Yeah, it's just the running back room is very, very weak here. And you can't really trade out your receivers too much either.
You might have to hope that Kupp has a huge week in the next 2 weeks, or Kamara has a huge week, and then try to do a 2-for-1 where you're getting 2.
Could also tear down from one of the quarterbacks, realistically.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Um,
Like, you could try to trade Kupp for, I don't know, DK and, like, Breece Hall or something. I don't know. Something that makes sense where you're getting a downgraded receiver, but you're getting a running back that you can start playing instead of Herbert would be very helpful, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of more in the camp of just trading out one of the quarterbacks here, and I think you can use that as like a starter to really get into these running backs.
I think I was kind of leaning the same way, Wells. I think, I would honestly lean Hurts over Fields getting out of with this team. It's like take that risk with Fields right now because your team kind of needs a lot
He's
of
also
saving.
just got such an easy schedule.
Yeah.
Like, I just factor that in. I'm like, I'd rather have schedule. But I'd rather Hurts weapons. But I'd go with Fields in the long run. And who do you DM? You DM Jackson here at Jamario Moon on the Discord. Link to that is in the bio. He is Jamario Moon. DSDBB fam. But overall, it's a fine team, but like it does have some room for improvement.
Would you be starting Josh Reynolds or Tyler Boyd this week?
Josh Reynolds, the quarterback, can actually throw the ball. Like Joe Burrow is like probably gonna have a great performance, and I'm just gonna be dead wrong on him this week. But like he just did not look good, and I'll rather
No,
wait a
me too.
week or two to hear him like post by. Let's see here.
Someone in the fantasy chat on Discord just posted like they said who wins here, and it's players written on a like little like sticky note piece of paper like scribbled on there.
What?
The picture of it.
So they got Sam Howell, Tyreek Hill. So they went for the full Miami side. Ramondre and Brees as the running backs. Christian Watson. I'm assuming this person had Mike Williams, having both QJ and Josh Palmer. Let's see here. T. Higgins, Zay Jones. It's not bad. Like I just don't like Ramondre Stevenson this year. But like his team is going to be suffering through like injuries. Is the reality of the matter. Um, I like that you started Sam Howell, but I don't know. A lot of inconsistency. I'd imagine this team's 1-4 or 3, I guess. What do you guys think?
Sorry, I'm doing something on Discord right now.
No, you're good.
I mean, in terms of who you're starting this week, assuming T. Higgins isn't playing, you're starting all the right guys. It's good Sam Howell put up some garbage time numbers for you. Ended up looking pretty good stats wise. Hill and Waddle, kind of a similar problem to what we were talking about earlier with the dude that had AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Both obviously great, and you kind of limit some of that risk of only having one of them because they're so streaky. But your ceiling is pretty low just because they're not both going to have 20-plus point games most likely. But yeah, I mean, in general, I think you're covered up all your bases. Ramondre leaves you lacking a little bit. I think you would want a little more production there, and assuming that Christian Watson looks good this week, you could potentially move off of T. Higgins and Ramondre for a better running back there. But other than that, I think you're in a solid spot.
Yeah, the running back room is just way too thin. Like, there's not enough margins for error, so to speak. You're really not decked out at receiver because T hasn't panned out how you wanted to. But Godwin should be able to go at like a really increased value, considering exactly what we've seen with how Mike Evans has produced. But now he's got that hamstring injury. And Chris Godwin had over like what was it, 18 fantasy points I think in the game that Mike Evans left early. So his value is going to skyrocket a bit, and potentially you can use him as a pivot out to get a better running back, or just sell Jalen Waddle high after he has a phenomenal game. One of the two, perhaps a more consistent quarterback as well, but I think it's fine. But moving on here, Mahomes, Gus Edwards, Jonathan Taylor, AJ Brown, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, and Jalen Waddle. Got Gibbs on the bench with Ken Walker, who's on bye. You got Puka, Rashee Rice, Christian Watson. I don't know why you're not starting Puka over Marquise Brown, but that's just me, I guess. Just very, very strong at receiver. I wouldn't even say weak at running back, but probably prior to this it was pretty weak, having to go between Gus Edwards and Jahmyr Gibbs. What are your guys' thoughts? Because me, I still want to improve the like running back room to something more solid. I think the wide receiver / flex room is fine.
Yeah, I would agree.
Still not looking at this trick.
The running backs, I mean, with Kenneth back off the bye, Gus is gone forever. Gibbs, hopefully you're trying to get something that you could either trade or use. If he starts to become good and Jonathan Taylor has a couple weeks, you could potentially sell high there. As far as the receivers go, though, I mean, Marquise Brown, I would be starting Puka over him. Would you like Watson or Marquise this week?
I'd probably go towards Watson for the upside. I imagine he's less limited on snaps. What's the deal with Devontae Adams, by the way?
I think he's trending towards playing. I mean, he finished the half last week with whatever the same injury was, and he said it hurt a lot after the game. But I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't play. He's been pretty limited in practice most of the year, and then he shows up on game day and looks great. So who knows? But definitely keep your eye on that.
Let's see here. I mean, overall, it's a solid team. I just would try to improve the running back spot to like be even more sustainable if I could, because I don't want have to like lean on Gus Edwards if I ever really need to.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get better, I imagine, but like he's also not been particularly looking great.
I mean, I feel like once JT is up and running, that KW3 would be pretty sufficient running back 2 to him if everything is okay with him, with JT.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't mind using one of the receivers here to sell out. I'd say Jalen Waddle specifically if he has a great game. Because no one's really that interested in Marquise Brown right now. But overall, it's a solid team.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could maybe ship Marquise right now. I mean, more so than you could right after drafting him, probably.
So for those asking how exactly to get your team rated, I don't know what number we're on at this moment, but you DM our guy Jackson here at Jamario Moon on the Discord. Link to that is in the bio. And he'll tell you exactly how to get your team rated.
Yes, sir.
Sam Howell, Jared Goff. So we got Super Flex League here with Alvin Kamara. Is this like a super flex? What the hell? This is crazy. Why would you have Matt Stafford on your bench here in this type of league? I'd have Jahmyr Gibbs. What the? Sorry, mind breaking right there. Amon St. Brown, Nico Collins, Sam Laporta with 2 super flexes. That's just insane to me. And then he's got Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford sitting on his bench. I'd have Matthew Stafford.
Could you start Stafford over to Gibbs? Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you don't have nothing but quarterbacks in. Based off of how many fantasy points they typically average, it's a lot safer from like a boom bust ratio.
Yeah. I mean, your bench is pretty good. You could drop.
Grant got turned into a robot, it sounds like.
But if you don't want to do that, then just at least start Stafford, I would say.
Like, this is a very strong team. If anything, build up your running back room, but like, you're in a 4 quarterback league. This might be one of the most insane things I've ever seen. Like, power to you. We should be able to get to just about everyone, Brian, but we typically stop around 30 teams just because that goes for quite a while, and we need sleep. But overall, it's a solid team. I just don't really like. If anything, I have like super strong elite quarterbacks would be like the main focus for me. But yeah, UDM Jackson here at Jamario Moon in the Discord. Link to that is in the bio. Jalen Hurts, Jahmyr Gibbs, Joe Mixon, Terry McLaurin, Stephon Diggs, Aaron Jones in the flex with Tank Dell. This is a slight IDP league. Let's see here, but no depth.
Jay Mosley, huh? 25 points.
Trying to look at the rest of these settings. Jalen Hurts is projected for 27. That's crazy.
I would have another defensive player on your bench or something if they're projected that many points.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not too familiar with how all that works, but 25 points for CJ Mosley is crazy.
Yeah.
Komet did you well. McLaurin, nothing great. But Komet might have overcome the McLaurin projection.
I'm pretty sure Komet.
Komet had what, like 13?
McLaurin didn't do well. Komet did well.
Komet had like 15 in PPR, I think.
Yeah, so that the difference between those two he's probably net even right now with those two playing.
Yeah.
I like the Hurts matchup a lot this week. That secondary is not great. And then I mean Gibbs just who knows? It's always up in the air to me, and it's almost impossible to get a read on.
He got unlucky with the Terry McLaurin. It was a good spot for him. Just Sam Howell's abysmal.
The game script kind of worked out better in McLaurin's favor than it would have if the game went how it was supposed to. It's just he was kind of mixing up his targets. Curtis Samuel got some
Curtis
work.
Samuel was just getting peppered.
Dotson looked better than he has.
I feel like I'd want more firm flex because to me, Jahmyr Gibbs is your flex here, and Aaron Jones is your lead running back.
Yeah.
But like you do have Jerome Ford sitting on the bench. You typically have Amon St. Brown in as well. I mean, it's more than fine. I'm trying to think of like, there's not really anyone I would want to sell too much. Like maybe Anthony Richardson on this team, or Jalen. Like really, we know Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts, but like one of these two quarterbacks, I would happily put on the table to get something even more stable at either running back or flex because those are really interchangeable to me.
What do you guys think just in general about getting out on Amon-Ra right now?
I think you're selling at a discount.
Yeah.
Just because of the injury?
Yeah, I think some people will just be like, well, like, what if this injury lingers, yada, yada, yada. Like, I don't want to be taking that much risk.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could, if you're going to trade him, I would wait, assuming you can afford to take an L this weekend in case he doesn't play. I would be sitting till next weekend when he can play. Because when he's been on the field this year, which is, I guess, every game except this last one, he has even overperformed the early second round grade that a lot of people had on him. He's looked awesome. So I would not freak out unless you need a win this week, and him not playing is massive for you. So
for real.
Overall, very solid team. Just like Komet's going to be very hit or miss. I just don't know how sustainable this is from like a passing standpoint for Justin Fields because like man's been cooking. But yeah, moving forward here. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Hunter Henry, Nico Collins, with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Waddle on the bench. I mean, this is like a 4-man league.
Yeah, how'd you get Adams, Chase, Waddle, and Saquon?
Like, that's insane.
For how strong your league is, I mean, I would be starting Saquon over Nico Collins probably,
I mean,
maybe even
having
Gibbs.
Etienne and Breece Hall is like
Breece Hall.
fine. Like Nico Collins in theory is the only thing you could upgrade, but like this is a very 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 strong team.
If Breece starts to pop this week, then this team is unreal. If he doesn't, then the running back room leaves a little to desire just based on like the quality of the rest of your players. I assume there's a guy that has like Pollard and Bijan or like a crazy running back stack. So if Breece doesn't pop, I would maybe look to upgrade that. But aside from that, you're in a great spot for now.
Yeah. Moving forward here, we have Tua, Bijan Robinson, James Conner, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Sam Laporta, Nico Collins, Adam Thielen, Tyler Bass with the Bills.
Get H-Non over Thielen in there for sure this week.
I mean, this is a very, very strong team. Like, congrats on winning your league. You have Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, and Austin Eckler on top of Bijan Robinson. Like,
it's dumb.
Yeah, next. Lamar Jackson.
I'm going to use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back, boys.
Would. We got Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, very solid team here. Like, running back isn't even weak. I'd consider selling high on, whatchamacallit, Kyren Williams here. And just to let you guys know, this is going to be uploaded on YouTube as well. So if you did miss your team, you can always go back and see our exact comments on your specific team and what we would do about it. Let's see here. Yeah, if that was your team, Ethan, like that was just, it wasn't even funny, like how good it was. Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins. Receiving core is a little bit weaker here. That's like the kind of area of concern right now. It's like sustainable enough, but I think it could be better. I don't mind selling a high on Kyron Williams right now. But that's really about it for this team. Because I don't know how consistent Russell Wilson is for a replacement for Lamar Jackson. We upload the live immediately after these streams. Yeah. Any thoughts on this one, Jackson?
Let's see. Needs a stronger wide receiver room. Yeah, I don't mind getting out of Kyron right here just because you already have Jacobs and McCaffrey and B-Rob. I think him and maybe like Tank Dell or some people you could trade out of to improve, but I would definitely try to find a stronger wide receiver than Jalen Waddle.
If Collins is good this week, him and Collins Kyron and Collins probably gets you like Pollard or something. So shoot big and get someone like that in there. Or, I mean, if you want to go the receiver way like we talked about, you could go get Kupp or you could go get a Diggs or a Devontae or something like that. So there's a lot of room to go up from there.
For sure.
But overall, yeah, it's just the receiver room is technically what needs work here. The flex is fine to a degree. You have lots of options that you can use. All right, let's see. Might be a team or two here now. Yep, perfect. All right. So Daniel Jones, unfortunately, I believe this team just has a backside, not a front side. But it's got Daniel Jones and Amon St. Brown. It must be pretty good to have those guys on your bench. But moving forward here, we have Jalen Hurts, James Cook, Devon Achane, Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Kelce, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson. Let's see here. Miles Sanders, Jahmyr Gibbs, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. Grant, why don't you start us off on this team?
I mean, just looking at your running backs, I like Achane a lot going forward. You've kind of hit and missed a little bit with Gibbs and Sanders, and Cook could be better. I think he's had like a positive start that's appealing to what he could do in the later half of the season, but definitely some guys that haven't lived up to potential, including Waddle and Wilson. So you definitely went young and with guys that you thought could have huge years, but just haven't totally panned out. So I mean, I think the only thing you can really do is take some time, because all of these guys, if you're going to be selling, it's going to be selling at like kind of a lower spot in their value, just because they're capable of more things, but people are going to look at the production so far this year, and it's going to be tough to get off of some of these guys without paying more than you should. So I think just give it time, and hopefully Waddle and Wilson look a little better, and Sanders and Gibbs pick it up a little bit, and then you'll have a ton of depth and a ton of guys that you can go out and make some moves with from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than a fine team. In theory, like, build up the running back spot a little bit more, but like overall it's a fine roster. There's really not too much to say about it. Garrett Wilson looks like he might be coming into form, which will be really good. Let's see. Yeah, not really too much. You just got a little bit unlocked. Let's see. Or unlucky. Jalen Hurts, Ramondre Stevenson, David Montgomery, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Sam Laporta, Saquon Barkley. You already won your week this week. Let's see here. Drake London, George Pickens, Anthony Richardson, Tyler Higbee, Cam Akers, Marvin Mims. I would consider selling on Anthony Richardson to build up for a higher tier flex to kind of put in between your running back and wide receiver spots. Not really too much to say about this team, because it's like I'm not a big fan of Ramondre, but that gets replaced with Saquon Barkley more often than not. And you can really sell out of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I would tier down there. I think that's the best spot. I mean, I think Richardson is going to be great the rest of the way, and you're going to get a lot more value back if you trade Hurts than Richardson, I would think. So I would lean there. Also, if Montgomery stays as consistent as he's been, your running back room is set. It's just a matter of finding the right flex week in and week out, whether it's Pickens or Stevenson, I guess, for now, and potentially some other guys later. But Yeah, I think you're in a good spot for sure. This week you're set, obviously.
Yeah. But moving forward here, let's see here. We got Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Brees Hall, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Hunter Henry, and Nico Collins. Saquon, who's kind of determined. I mean, this is just another very strong team. There's really not much to say. Like, your running back's room's very solid, your wide receiver room's more than solid, and your flex spot is realistically dominant as well. Like,
Saquon versus Nico this week, where would you lean?
if Saquon plays, I'll give him the chance just because I do think
For
the
sure.
offense gets a little bit more dynamic. And I think that Nico's got a more difficult matchup in reality. Whereas, like, I'd
Yeah,
be
I agree.
trying to sell on, like, Jalen Waddle for something more sustainable in the flex spot for, like, when people go in and out. But, like, even at that kind of point, you don't really have to
Yeah,
worry.
you have Rashad and Waddle and stuff too that you could pair with some guys. There's a ton of options to tier up.
Yeah. But overall, I'm going to move to the next team here. We have Lamar Jackson, Raheem Mostert, James Conner, Amon St. Brown, Puka, TJ Hawkinson, AJ Brown, Stafford, Mixon, Kyron. I mean, just very, very solid at the running back position. This I'd try to improve a little bit further just because, like, you can add something that's a little bit more strong.
I think you probably have to start Kyron over Mostert or Connor this week. I mean, the matchup isn't ideal, but he's been involved in the passing game and he's been so good that it's hard to ignore. It seems like Achon is probably going to be more the guy moving forward. So between those two guys, who would you bench for Kyron?
Um,
I guess
I
it could also be Amon Ra if he doesn't play. You move AJ Brown up there and you start Kyron at the flex.
what about Mixon?
Mixon as well.
Like I would probably start Mixon over Kyron this week,
yeah, it's just a better
considering the
spot for
matchup against
Mixon.
the Eagles. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I don't know. I mean,
I
I
would
think
throw
both
him
of
for
them.
Mostert. I mean, I think Mostert like any given week could have a great week, but like just going into this, like him and Achon, or I mean Achon's a little bit ahead of him for me, but they're still kind of like 50-50 going to be a better option, you know.
Yeah, it's a tough one to predict. You just have so much talent on the bench that you're going to be mad at yourself whatever way you do it. So
Or maybe go
it's a
upgrade it
tough one to
for a higher
balance.
end like wide receiver that you can put in this flex spot because you do have that kind of questionability with Amon St. Brown right now, and Puka realistically becomes kind of a flex option. Whereas like Adam Thielen, I don't really want in the long term. And any of these running backs you can really pair together. I just think that Kyron's at a league high premium right now. Um, but we'll see
Yeah,
how
you
it
could even trade
progresses.
off of him, but something needs to be done. He can't just be sitting there on the bench. He's been too
Yeah.
good. So someone's going to want him, or if you end up deciding to start him, either way, I think it's a good decision. But just letting him sit there is not productive.
Agreed. But moving forward, we
Yeah.
have two. Oh god, I'll go back
Real
to it.
quick, guys, if you want your team rated like this, just go to our Discord, which the link for is in the bio, and DM me at Jamario Moon a screenshot of your team, and I'll help optimize you and get you set up to get your team reviewed.
Perfect.
Yeah, and if we don't get to you today, we will most likely do one tomorrow, I would guess. And if not tomorrow, then early next week. So we will get to you at some point, obviously.
Yeah, and the faster
Um,
you send me a DM, the sooner you'll be in the queue. And we got fantasy experts waiting in the fantasy channel of the Discord, ready to answer questions whenever you have them. So,
Yeah. Um, but that's how to do that. We got Tua, CD Lamb, Brian Robinson, TJ Hawkinson, Bijan, and Chris.
whoa.
What are these teams? And Devontae Smith, like this is a super team. Like there's really not much to say about
There's only
this.
one receiver slot. It's interesting.
Like what?
yeah, it's a triple flex. I'm in a few of those leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like there's nothing that needs to be said about this team. Like you've got
No, you don't need help.
Trade Kyron and Pittman, or whichever one of Pittman Ayuk has the bigger week. Package that with Kyron.
I would
'Cause
just
your
be trying to sell
flexes are way too
Kyron
good.
right now. Like and yeah, build on that flex or maybe running back spot. Real, but like realistically, it's flex because like Bijan and McCaff, like that messes with my head. Um,
But it seems like based on the size of your league, probably that Brian Robinson, who's great in most leagues, but in this league is probably not like the best guy to be starting. that, I mean, you could tier up with using Devontae and Kyron and those guys that are way too talented to just be sitting there. So
Yeah, this is just a super team. Moving forward. Andy Richardson, Cooper Kupp, Amon St. Brown, Damian Pierce, Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson, Terry McLaurin, Josh Reynolds, Marquise Brown, CJ Stroud, Logan Thomas. Oof. This is a more realistic team.
shout out Jackson, by the way. He said Logan Thomas would have a big week yesterday.
Real dude, crazy. Dude, I thought I put my entire portfolio in Logan Thomas on prediction strike last night before the game started, and it didn't go through. And like halfway through the game, I went to check, and there was just no Logan in my portfolio.
Spain without the S. Let's see here. I guess the running back spot's really the place you need work on, but like you got kind of an injury bug going on in the receiving core.
Yeah, Reynolds is an easy slot in for Amon-Ra though if he doesn't play. So
yeah, like I realistically like build up a flex spot a little bit more here because I think this overall is a very solid core, and you have Josh Reynolds who should fill in for Amon-Ra if he actually doesn't play. Overall, it's a very solid team though. Just the flex is the only thing I would try to improve on. Maybe sell Logan Thomas high, if you can. I doubt anyone pays high premium for him, but you never know. But yeah, that's really all I have to say.
I think Aaron Jones should have a good week this week. It makes sense against a defense that gave up a lot of rushing yards last week to Josh Kelly. So Aaron Jones should be able to build upon a poor performance last week. Yeah, I like Pierce going forward the rest of the season. He's had a tough start, but with some of the O-line guys coming back and that offense being a lot more competent than people thought it originally would, I think his value is somehow higher than it was at the beginning of the year, even without performing super well to start out. So,
yeah, totally. Damon Pierce is definitely a positive asset moving forward. I do think he is going to have a hard time this week against Atlanta's run D. They've been pretty good this season.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
All right, moving forward here. I think that might have been the last one. Nope, we got two more here. That'll be it for this specific stream.
This one, we got Jordan Love, Alvin Kamara, Bijan, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Evan Ingram, James Conner, Jake Elliott, and then on the bench, Tank Dell, Joe Burrow, Roshan, T. Higgins, D-Hop, and Josh Palmer.
I mean, just a very solid team that's got, like, a little unlucky.
Yeah. I think you've made all the correct start sits. The only one that's a little questionable to me is Connor versus D-Hop. Mm-hmm. I think this is the week to start D-Hop if you're ever going to start him. I'm still not sure whether he's a better option than Connor, but this is the week that I would be pro D-Hop of any.
I'd also be selling high on Alvin Kamara. I think you can get better running back and combine him with any piece realistically on this team to try to improve that.
It's such a good time to ship him too. I mean, like it might, like hopefully he has another good game this week, so he's still at the same level. But it's just such a good time to sell Kamara.
The hype is crazy right now for sure.
Yeah,
agreed. Other than that, nothing really too crazy about this team. It's a very solid team. Just like the running back spot technically needs to be upgraded because like D. Higgins and D. Hop are really more than fine fill-ins for that flex spot, in my opinion. But on to our last team here. We have Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, James Cook, DeAndre Hopkins, Jaden Reed, Mark Andrews, and Chuba Hubbard. This has to be a very, very, very deep league.
Especially the bench too.
Yeah, the bench is super thin. The wide receiver core is beyond thin.
I wonder who was your first pick, like Aaron Jones at 16 or something, or 18?
Maybe it was Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Like, could this be a 32 creator league?
There could also be an out-of-picture IR player, like a Nick Chubb of sorts.
Like, they just got absolutely, like, fleeced with every injury possible this weekend. Not weekend, this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope this is a deep league. Otherwise, this is the worst team I've ever seen for fantasy football.
Can we get some prayers in the chat, please, for this team?
if it's
I
deep,
mean, you
it's
just
not
gotta
a
hope.
bad team. But like we have to know how many people are in this specific
You
league.
just gotta hope Jalen Warren becomes a guy that you can trust a little bit more, and then he can replace Chuba at least. But that's just such a tough one.
Like, there's
I
really
mean,
not much to say.
assuming your league is very deep, the running backs are actually good.
Really good, and like your one receiver is fine, and then it's just like picking the dart throw that's going to be good at
Yeah.
receiver. Um,
What's up with the quarterback situation though?
Jordan
Like,
Love was like a late round dart shot, is my guess. Like, I don't know. This team, I'm hoping it's a deep league.
yeah, you should get out of. I mean, unless like it is insanely deep and your waiver wire is picked
He said
clean,
it's a
like
12 man.
it shouldn't be picked cleaner than Van
There's no
Jefferson.
way
Like,
that this is a 12 man.
That's what Jake said.
come on, Jake.
Said that's me, 12-man league.
Jake, I hate to say it, this might be the worst team I've seen. Um,
I wonder who your first round pick was.
like you must have been like absolutely decimated from trades or injuries or
Probably
something.
Nick Chubb, yeah.
Like I can only imagine that this team had Nick Chubb and Mike Williams.
Yeah.
Like
A weird amount of people I feel like who drafted both Nick Chubb and Mike Williams, like in the teams that we've reviewed. I feel like we've seen that a lot of times.
yeah. Um, like you can't really even tear down. That's kind of like,
You could tight end, that's about it.
and that like isn't really like a tear down that's gonna be like super useful for you more often than not.
You could go like I feel like people are kind of big on James Cook right now. You could go like Andrews and James Cook for like a
Three
decent-
guys or something.
yeah.
I guess, yeah. Because like that's the only way of like saving this team is like tearing down. It's just like I don't know, like the wide receiver and the flex spot is like the biggest hole. But like you don't really have anything that like people are like they want Anthony Richardson right now. Like any mobile quarterback they're interested in. Um, I guess I would try to maybe like buy the Darren Waller team, like with Mark Andrews, and maybe do a split off that and like hope that like he starts getting really involved.
Or
Which
the
case,
Kittle team.
yeah, or the Kittle team, like and get a receiver specifically. It's just like your flex spot is giving you like 4 to 5 fantasy points, best case scenario, like each week. If Jalen Warren comes to promise, then he's definitely interesting. I'd say he's probably still a better. He might not be a better start than Chuba, honestly. Um,
I mean, it depends on Sanders' health. If Sanders is playing, I think you probably start Warren, but that Baltimore matchup is always kind of chippy, and it's hard to really tell. The games on the ground are usually kind of a grinded out type game. So
I guess I'd drop
Um,
Van Jefferson and go get Jonathan Mingo and pray for upside there.
yeah, or like a Michael Wilson or something like that.
Maybe get Tyjae Spears like over Devontae Parker. Actually, I wouldn't
Austin.
really drop Devontae Parker. I'd drop Josh Kelly. Um, Calvin Austin's interesting. I like. You've got to be really aiming for upside at this point because like you're behind on the 8 ball.
Yeah, the Devontae Parker and Van Jeffersons of the world are not worth rostering. With your current team, you're going to be wanting to go after more of the young guys that have potential to pop off.
Like Mingo's interesting, Austin's interesting. Tyjae Spears is worth holding at this point, in my opinion, because it's like, what if Derrick Henry gets traded or anything like that? Then you're in a really good spot. Um,
Just go big. There's no harm in not.
like you need to do a trade with like the preferably the Darren Waller guy because he just seems to have more upside realistically. Whereas the Mark Andrews, like you have like the positives to this team: Aaron Jones, James Cook, that's fine. DeAndre Hopkins, that's fine.
Mark Andrews.
Mark
And
Andrews
then
is
after
fine,
that,
but like Jordan Love is going to be okay, but you can't really tear him down. Jaden Reed, I love him, but like he's not going to be consistent with Christian Watson coming back, and then Chuba, like it's not his job yet. But yeah, just try to tear down with the Darren Waller team, and you should be able to get a high end wide receiver in their return, and then like throw in Goddard too. I don't know, like something. I think that's all we have here before I go on another rant here. But appreciate you guys popping in here, Grant and Jackson sitting down another night talking with me about some fantasy football and rating your guys' respective teams. Appreciate you all, and we will talk to you guys later. And these will be uploaded on YouTube. And the ones that we haven't done yet, I think we're going to try to do tomorrow, depend upon exactly how many we have in queue. But appreciate you guys. Check out the replay on
Check out our UFC picks for tomorrow as well.
and the UFC, because
we'll keep you posted in Discord if we end up doing this tomorrow too. So just keep an eye on things.
Perfect. All right. Appreciate you guys.